comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here he comes.
When the Prescott gang started their reign of terror, they made every other criminal in the territory seem like a rank amateur. Frank Prescott struck lightning fast, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. And the price on his head increased with every daring crime. My saddle partner, Red Connors, and I were called in to try to track down the elusive outlaw who was now wanted on a federal charge. We gathered all the information we could from townsfolk and businessmen who had fallen victim to Prescott's almost insane urge for money. We picked up his trail, but he always seemed just one jump ahead of us, until on a road just a few miles outside of Twin Rivers, we interrupted what turned out to be Frank Prescott's last armed robbery.
All right, throw down the money.
We saved the payroll the stage carried, but one man was dead, another wounded, and Frank Prescott was still on the loose. We got the stage driver to Twin Rivers and under the able care of Dr. Glenn Scott and Nurse Nancy Matthews, who in a few more hours were to become man and wife.
Well, at least that holdup got Red and I back in time for your wedding.
We're glad you could make it, Hoppy.
Hey, in the meantime, we better get a new guard for that driver.
Don't forget, the wedding starts at 3 o'clock.
Don't you worry, Nancy. We'll be back for that. He's not going to miss that wedding cake.
Yes, what is it?
I'm a friend of Frank's, Doc. He wants to see you.
The only place I want to see Frank is behind bars.
This ain't no social call. Your brother's hurt bad and he needs a doctor.
Where is he?
I'll take you to him. Just get the bag.
I'm getting married at 3 o'clock. Then I'll see Frank.
Hold it, Doc. You're going now.
What about my fiancée?
You'll just have to leave her waiting at the church.
I can't do that.
This gun says you will. Now, shall we get the bag? Just a minute, Doc. Is this standard equipment, or did you have plans?
Just habit when I ride the roads at night. Look, my friends will get suspicious when I don't show up.
Yeah. Yeah, they might. So that they don't get worried enough to follow you, why don't you write out a note saying you're out on a case? And one more thing, Doc.
What's that?
Bring along a death certificate.
Hoppy, I can't understand why my son's so late.
Well, Charles, you know what a doctor's life is.
But after all, this is his own wedding and no word.
I know. Try not to worry about it, Nancy. Red and I'll go and see if we can find out what's keeping him. We'll be back in a Been called away on emergency case. See you later, Glenn. Well, he certainly doesn't seem very concerned for a man that's supposed to be getting married right now.
I hope this emergency case doesn't keep him away too long.
Something wrong here, Red. We'd better get back and tell the others.
Hi, Glenn.
Frank? Get me some clean water and a towel.
Sure glad you came. I wouldn't want nobody but my doctor brother patching me up.
Could have picked a better time than need patching. I was supposed to get married this afternoon.
Oh? Sorry I upset your plans.
You've been doing that all your life.
How's Pa?
As well as could be expected. What with worrying about you for the past few years.
What's he got to worry about? I changed my name, didn't I? Nobody knows I'm really Frank Scott.
You can't change the fact that you're his son. And a murderer. One who'll end up at Hangman's Tree.
Shut up. Nobody's putting a rope around my neck. They'll never take me alive.
You want that arm fixed, settle down. Better wear that in a sling. You were lucky this time, Frank. One of these days you'll catch a bullet where it counts. Then you'll really have use for the death certificate I brought along.
I got use for it now, Glenn.
What are you talking about?
My death certificate. You're going to sign it.
I'm what?
You heard me right. There's a $10,000 reward for my capture, dead or alive. I plan on collecting it.
You're crazy. I won't sign it.
Oh, yes, you will. Oh, your wedding plans might be interrupted permanently. Why, something might even happen to your intended bride.
I believe you mean that. You're rotten clear through, Frank.
Just a doctor's diagnosis. Now, you listen here to me. You're going to stay here till tomorrow morning. Then you'll go into Twin Rivers and you'll say just what I tell you to.
What makes you think I won't tip off the marshal?
I don't think you will, Glenn. My boys will see to that. As a matter of fact, they're going to collect the reward for killing me.
These two men picked up Prescott's trail after you and Red broke up the stage robbery. Wounded him in a gunfight. I worked all night to save Prescott's life, but it wasn't any use. Here's the death certificate.
Where's the body?
About 6 feet underneath the ground out at a place called Lambert's Folly.
Lamborn's Folly.
That's right. About 50 yards from the old ranch house there.
Now, just a minute. You dug a grave and buried Frank Prescott at Lambert's Folly. Is that right?
We can show you the exact spot.
Well, I'm afraid I'll have to see it before I turn in a report.
What about the reward? When do we get that?
Oh, don't worry. You'll get what's coming to you.
Oh, Glenn.
Hello, Nancy. Dad. I'm sorry about yesterday.
Oh, what happened?
You had us worried, son.
Well, everything's all right. I'll explain later.
The doctor had a busy night of it. Frank Prescott was the emergency case he was called out on.
Yeah, these two here claim they killed Prescott. Want the reward.
Dad!
Doctor, what do you suppose brought that on?
I don't know.
It was a shock of hearing...
Nancy, I've got to get him over to my office.
Let me help you.
The minute they mentioned that Prescott was buried 6 feet under at Lamborn's Folly, I knew that the story about his death was a phony. But when Charles Scott collapsed on hearing of the alleged killing, I was puzzled and wanted to find out why a respected man like Dr. Scott was mixed up in an attempted fraud.
Come on, I want to have a look at that Lambert's Folly.
Sure, Mark.
I'll stay here. Maybe I can give the doc a hand.
Yeah, maybe you can.
Let's go.
We rode out to Lamborn's Folly and were shown the grave where Frank Prescott was 6 feet under.
There it is.
Let's have a look at the inside of the ranch house.
Sure. Particular, Marshal?
Oh, no, just routine.
Place looks the same to me, Hoppy.
A little more run down, but I guess that's natural. There's been nobody here to look at the place since Lambert left about 8 years ago.
Well, my partner and I figured that sleeping in here is better than sleeping out in the open.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Well, come on, Red, let's go.
When are you going to send in that report, Marshal? Me and my partner can use some money.
Didn't anyone ever tell you not to count your chickens before they're hatched?
What do you mean? We got Prescott, didn't we?
Come on, Red.
Well, Frank, it looks like they're falling for it.
I'm not so sure. Cassidy's got something on his mind. I tried to gun him down from up there, but you were right in my line of fire.
What makes you think he's wise?
I don't know. I just don't like it. Here.
Cassidy?
That's right. And don't miss.
You're the boss.
You know there ain't no reward on our heads. Why do you suppose that feller's shooting at us?
Well, maybe he's just trying to make that story about killing somebody come true.
Why don't we just round them up? We know they're lying. Frank ain't no more buried there at Lambert's Folly than I am.
But so long as they think we don't know that, they'll stick around for the reward. Fred, the thing that bothers me is why the Scotts are mixed up with Prescott. Scott. Prescott. I think I've got it. Come on.
He just doesn't respond. Tried everything. He won't believe Frank's alive.
Well, get your brother here and show him.
Oh, I told you about Frank, Nancy. He's a mad dog. Who else would scheme to collect his own reward money?
But it's his father, too, and he can't refuse to come. Surely he has some decency left.
That's worth a try if it means Dad's life.
Well, how's the old man?
He's dying. We've got to get Frank.
You don't take orders so well, do you, Doc? Or maybe you forgot. Frank is dead. It ain't healthy for the little lady to know any different.
Save your threats. Just get my brother here.
You've got to. It's the only chance of saving his father's life.
Oh, I don't know. Frank won't like this.
You tell him if he doesn't come, I'll disclose everything.
You won't disclose anything, Doc. If I ride out, you go with me.
He can't go now.
Then I don't go either.
I'll go with you.
Nancy.
It's the only way, Glenn. We have no other choice. You've got to stay here with your father.
Say, that's a better idea. When Frank gets his 10,000, you get the girl back. Fair enough? Now, ain't that a pretty picture? Come on.
Working on the theory that most every family keeps a photographic record, Red and I rode the Charles Scott's ranch, and it didn't take long to find what I was looking for.
There it is.
Glenn and brother Frank. Pal.
Frank Prescott is the doctor's brother, there's no doubt about it.
That explains why the doc's mixed up in this.
Yeah, and it also explains why Charles Scott had an attack when he heard about Prescott's death.
You suppose the doc's in for a cut of the 10,000?
I hope not, Red. We're going to find out right now.
Faced with the photograph, the doctor told us the truth about his part in the fantastic scheme hatched by his brother, Frank. He filled us in on all the details and told us that Nancy was being held hostage out at Lambourne's Folly.
Well, come on, let's go get her.
Oh, wait a minute. Frank said he'll never be taken alive. If he doesn't get here, Dad will die.
Well, we won't stop Frank, but I want you to promise to stall him here until we get back from Lambert's Folly.
Well, that's kind of a tall order, Hoppy. He's his brother, you know.
Well, Frank wouldn't ride in to save Father's life if it weren't for fear of losing that 10,000. You have my word, Hoppy.
Thanks, Doc.
I've had about all the talk from you that I...
Let me go! Let me go!
Get your hands up. You all right, Nancy?
Yes.
Come on, get up on your feet.
Did you have to bring that?
It's the only thing I know for sure I can trust.
Dad. Dad. Frank's here. Dad, listen. Frank's alive. You've got to hear me. Frank's alive. He's here. You've got to hear me. Frank's alive. He's here. Try to understand.
You're wasting your breath.
Dad. Frank's alive. He's here. He's coming out of it. See, Dad? It's Frank. He'll be all right now.
Good. And I'm leaving.
Wait.
For what? Someone else to collect the $10,000 reward?
Frank, give yourself up. Stop all this robbing and killing.
I didn't come here for fatherly advice.
Wait a minute, Frank. You can't go now.
Can't I? Stand where you are. Turn around and walk out of here ahead of me.
Crazy, Frank. There'll be a dozen guns out there.
Well, if they use them, you'll be the first one to drop. Move out, Cassidy. My boys have the girl. If I don't get back, she dies.
It won't work, Frank. My deputy's on his way into town with your 2 gunmen right now. And the girl is with him.
And the doctor's with me. We're going out of here together. Put away your guns, or I'll kill him.
All right, Frank. You win.
Frank!
That was a heartbreaking decision your father had to make, but I guess he figured it was either your life or Frank's.
He's a pretty brave man, Hoppy.
I know.
He wants the reward money divided among the families who suffered from Frank's outlawry.
He would think of that.
What made you suspicious of Glenn's story?
Well, Frank did make one little mistake in the spot he picked to be buried in, 6 feet under.
Yeah, that Lambourne farm's only got 1.5 feet of topsoil. Underneath that, there's nothing but solid rock.
That's why they called it Lambourne's Folly. Well, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Hi, my little partners. I want to ask you a very serious question. Are you afraid of policemen? You're not, huh? Well, that's good. You shouldn't be. Always remember that those men have had a lot of training, have put in a lot of years to learn how to help protect you. And one more thing, don't ever call a policeman a cop. He doesn't like it, and it doesn't sound good. Respect him as he does you. Call him a police officer and see how much nicer he'll be. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, don't forget to go to Sunday school.
There he goes on his way down the moonlit trail to where cowboys race. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return is to say goodbye until then. Hopalong Cassidy, here he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here he
For years, Twin Rivers was a quiet cattle town. Then suddenly, the peaceful existence changed with the discovery of gold near our community. The prospects of easy, sudden wealth attracted an influx of new citizens. Unfortunately, we had to welcome the bad along with the good. My job as sheriff became more difficult and hazardous. Most of the disturbances were caused by Buck Fain's gambling table. I could never prove Fain's games were crooked, but fights were inevitable and frequent.
Break it up! What's the matter with you?
All right, what is it this time, Fain?
The usual thing. His luck ran out, and he accused me of running a crooked game.
I said that was enough.
He caused considerable damage. Lock him up. I'll prefer charges.
All right, come on.
I was reluctant to lock up this fellow, but according to the law, I couldn't do anything else.
Be more careful in the future. All these miners aren't stupid. Get back to your table. Looks like Bummer's lost another partner.
King, what happened?
I don't know. Somebody shot him in the back when we was working the claim. Where's Hoppy?
Seems to me the sheriff would be the last person you'd want to talk to. This is the second one of your partners who's been mysteriously ambushed. 2 weeks ago, it was Jack Smith.
Are you trying to say I done it?
Well, the more of them you kill off, the larger your share.
Why, you lying varmint? Oh!
None of that, you.
Protecting the old fool, huh? Of course you would. You're one of his partners in that gold strike. Maybe you're helping him get rid of the others.
Yeah, I'll make you eat dinner.
No. Something ought to be done about you two, and I got a good mind to start it.
You'd better be sure you can finish it.
You're nothing but a dirty crook. You're sore because you haven't got a part of my mind.
Shut up, you old fool. Well, how about this, folks? Shall I do something about it?
Yeah. What have you got in mind, Fain? Put up your gun. I said put up your gun.
I'm sure glad to see you, Hoppy. Buck Fain here is trying to say that Red and I killed off our partners. We had no idea who killed Frank King and Jack Smith. We were out digging the claim
All right, Bummer, I know. All right, come on, all of you. Back to your business now. You too, Fain. Red, you better take care of him.
I knew Fain was a troublemaker, but I couldn't figure his motive in trying to make people believe this old codger was a murderer.
Come on, Bummer.
Bummer had drifted into Twin Rivers 6 or 8 years before and had never been known to do a day's work. Finally, the people around town got tired of Bummer bumming his foods, drinks, and even his clothing. 5 of the boys got together and decided to grub-stake the old man if he'd work a gold claim. They were Dan Warner, the blacksmith, Red, and 3 miners, Jack Smith, Frank King, and Trem Hardy. Dan said he didn't have any idea what was going on. When I told him his life might be in danger, he laughed off my fears. I told the blacksmith when he saw Trem Hardy to tell him to drop into my office.
Look, Hoppy, he's here. Sheldon, boy, am I glad to see you.
Oh, my Uncle Sheldon, how are you?
Oh, how are you? Oh, this is my brother's boy, and my namesake, Dr. Sheldon Lowe. Shake hands with Hopalong Cassidy.
How are you, Doctor?
Glad to know you, Mr. Cassidy.
I wrote him to come over as soon as I struck gold on my claim.
That was very nice of you, Bummer.
Bummer. That is what you call him, isn't it?
Oh, that's just a term of affection.
Oh.
Well, I've had a little trouble since I wrote you, boy.
Now, you better come over to my office, Doctor.
It's nothing to worry about. A couple of my partners got shot in the back.
The doctor hadn't seen Bummer for over 15 years. I gathered from their conversation that because this boy was his namesake and his father was dead, Bummer had decided to set his nephew up in business and open an office for him. I didn't like to disillusion Dr. Lowe about his uncle, but I had to explain what had started out to be a prank with the boys around town making Bummer go to work had turned into a serious matter. I'd drawn up a partnership agreement which all of them signed. They were to share equally 6 ways. Naturally, with the elimination of 2 men, those left would get a bigger share.
Mr. Cassidy, Uncle Sheldon wouldn't kill anybody?
I'm sure of that.
I passed by the claim on my way into town. I don't know much about mining, but it didn't look very prosperous to me.
Have you ever been in this part of the country before?
No.
Of course not. He only got out of that doctor's school a couple of months ago.
Well, for a stranger, you didn't seem to have much trouble finding that claim.
Well, Uncle Sheldon described it so well in his letter, I just went right to it.
Could I see that letter?
I lost it.
What are you driving at, Hoppy?
Slug from a 30-30 Winchester killed Frank King. Hi, Bummer.
Hi.
If I'm not mistaken, that was a 30-30 Winchester you had on your saddle, wasn't it?
That's right. See here, Mr. Cassidy, if you think because I went by my uncle's mine I killed one of his partners, you're badly mistaken.
Now, just a minute, Doctor. Nobody's accusing you of anything.
Your insinuations are plain enough.
It was only natural for him to go to the mine. He thought he'd find me there.
Mr. Cassidy,
Hi, Trem.
what's this I hear about Frank King?
That's right.
Trim, I want to tell you
Just a
something.
minute. Trem Hardy, this is Dr. Sheldon Lowe, Bummer's nephew.
Glad to know you, Mr. Hardy.
So, you're the young man Bummer's going to will all his money to.
Yes, that's right. What about it?
What do you mean?
Bummer told me the other day he was going to leave everything to his nephew. Judging from the way things are happening around here, it's going to be quite a bit. But hear this, you old scalawag. I'll get my share, and it won't be in my grave either.
Who you calling an old scalawag, you big coyote?
Just a minute. I'll see you later, Hardy. Why don't you pick on somebody your own size? Time getting your shingle up.
Oh, good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. You know, you should do pretty well here in Twin Rivers. Doc Kramer's getting old and tired and wants to quit anyhow.
Got my first patient last night, Uncle Sheldon.
Oh? What happened to him?
Pains in his stomach. He's been overeating.
Now that he's a rich man, he'll probably try to outdo Diamond Jim Brady. Is he in bed?
Yes, he is.
I'll go over and see him.
Mr. Cassidy, if you want to question me any further, I took a room in Mrs. Turner's boarding house.
Yeah, I know.
Mrs. Turner? Hi.
Oh, Mr. Cassidy, come in. Oh, you are in, aren't you?
Yes.
Land's sakes, I haven't laid eyes on you in days. How are you? Well, I hope. Let me see now. To be exact, I haven't seen you or laid eyes on you in 5 days. Yes, I know it was 5 days ago because...
Mrs. Turner, I came in to see Bummer.
Oh, yes, of course. Sheldon will be so glad to see you. He's in his room, you know, confined to his bed, poor thing. I was just bringing him some soup and warm milk. I always say that,
Yes, I know. Which one is Bummer's room?
This way. Yes, the same room we had before. Best bed in the house, too. I always say that people don't pay enough attention to what kind of bed they sleep in. You know, did you ever stop to realize, Mr. Cassidy, you spend half of your life in bed? My sister Emma always said...
Mrs. Turner, you seem to have taken quite an interest in Sheldon's comforts all of a sudden. I remember the time you put him out because he couldn't pay his bill.
I only did it for his own good. Here's his room. 2 of his partners are with him. Thank you.
Listen, Tram, if you and Dan will do what I tell you, we'll have a mine that'll pay off. I ain't gonna have no more soup nor no more milk.
Nonsense. It's good for you, Sheldon, and you'll drink every drop of it.
Oh, a man ought to have something in his stomach that'll stick to his ribs. Howdy, Hoppy.
Hi, Bummer. What's ailing you?
Well, I must have ate something that didn't like me. And that nephew of mine sent me some medicine. It's the worst tasting stuff I ever had in this world.
Well, they say the worse the taste, the quicker the cure.
Yeah, listen, it kills you. Want some soup?
No, I don't want any soup. But I do want you to stay away from the mine.
That's what we were talking about, Hoppy.
Yeah, me and Warner's going out to work the claim while Bummer's laid up. But we're taking Red along with us to keep a lookout for ambushes.
That's a good idea. I was going to suggest that.
I ain't gonna stay in this bed.
Oh, yes, you are, Sheldon.
I think you'd better, Bummer.
Well, all right, Hoppy, if you say so.
Is this the medicine your nephew prescribed?
Yes, and I wish he had to take it himself.
Oh, for goodness sake, it's time for his next dose.
Oh, no. I ain't gonna take it.
Oh, yes, you are, Sheldon. Now, open up.
Being sick and having Mrs. Turner's loving care forced upon him at least did one thing. It made Bummer anxious to get back to work. I left to give Red some instructions about protecting himself and the other partners.
Mrs. Turner? Mrs. Turner?
Fine. What are you doing here?
Dr. Lowe tells me that you have a vacant room, and you serve the best food in town.
You want to rent from me?
Yes. Anything wrong with that?
I've never rented to anyone connected with your place.
Well, there's always a first time for everything. How much?
I haven't said I'd let you have the room.
This ought to take care of it.
Well, if you insist. Now, Mr. Payne, please don't make me sorry I took you in. I always say...
I know. You have nothing to worry about.
I was just as amazed as Mrs. Turner to see Fane moving into her place. Red took the first turn at guard duty while Hardy and Warner worked the claim. Quite naturally, they wanted to stay alive to enjoy their newfound prosperity.
Came from over there. You better get out of here.
They had searched around the claim for signs of the ambusher, but had found nothing. They promised me to stop all work on the diggings for a while. I'd received word Bummer was worse and wanted to talk to me.
I think the cup of hot tea you suggested will help. Be sure he takes the medicine.
I'll attend to it.
How's Bummer?
His condition is serious, but not dangerous.
Did you get to talk to him?
I couldn't, not in his present condition.
I told you I'd make it worth your while. Besides, if you wait, it'll be too late.
Hi, Bummer.
Hiya, Hoppy.
How you feel?
Terrible. Dizzy, and I got pains in my stomach. And...
Well, what does Sheldon say about it?
Oh, well, he sent me over some new medicine over there. But that's not what I want to talk to you about, Hoppy. Hoppy, I got a confession to make to you. I've been in love with Mrs. Turner for a long time. But I never had nerve enough to speak to her about it until now. Well, you know, now that I got a little money, why, I guess I'd just pop the question.
And she said yes.
Yeah, and she sure made me happy, too. Hoppy, I want you to read this. It's my will. I wish you'd fix it up sort of legal-like, so that if anything happens to me before we're married, Mrs. Turner and Sheldon will split what I leave.
Nothing's going to happen to you. You'll be up and around in no time. But I do think, for your own protection, that maybe you should give me power of attorney.
What's that?
Well, that's a legal form of letter that means that you can't sell or transfer or even give away your gold without my consent.
Oh, I see. Sure, Hoppy, you go ahead and fix it up.
That's fine. This is the new medicine, huh?
Isn't that awful smelling stuff?
It certainly is.
Yeah, and after I take that vile tasting stuff, I feel worse than I did before.
Well, then there's no reason for taking it. I'll get you some stuff that doesn't taste quite so bad.
Oh, thanks, Hoppy. You're a real friend.
I'll be back in a little while with some new medicine. You
Hoppy,
take it easy.
Hoppy, don't hurry.
Why, Mr. Cassidy, I didn't know you were here.
I was in visiting with Bummer. Is the doctor in?
Well, he was a few minutes ago. I'll see. Land sakes, I never had so much to do. Since poor Sheldon got sick, it's just been one thing after the other.
Did you want to see me, Mr. Cassidy?
Yes. I'm taking Bummer's medicine away from him.
For goodness sake, why?
You have no right to do that.
I have every right. And as sheriff, I'm ordering you not to prescribe to your uncle. I'm having Dr. Kramer come in and take a look at him.
That's a direct insult. I'm a doctor, Mr. Cassidy, and what you're doing is contrary to professional ethics.
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I don't have to be concerned with professional ethics.
All right. You are the law in Twin Rivers, and I'll have to abide by what you say. But I won't be responsible for the results.
Let me worry about that, will you?
Land sakes, I never saw such goings-on. You don't think there's anything really wrong with that medicine, do you, Mr. Cassidy?
Well, I don't know, but there's no sense taking any chances.
Well, I'll get rid of it for you.
I'll see you later, Miss Turner.
Well, I always say the law is the law.
I know about you having the power of attorney, Cassidy, and I'm willing to pay a good price to buy into Bummer's claim.
Aren't you satisfied with your own business?
Yes, but I'd like to get in on a good thing.
I'm sure you would. But I think for the time being, we'll let things stand just as they are. Here's something else you might give some thought to. You go in with Bummer, your life might be in danger.
I'm willing to take my chances on that score.
Change your tune, eh, Fane?
I'm making a legitimate offer.
I'm sure you are.
I even asked the doctor to speak to the old man about it. You can ask him.
I will. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have some work to do.
Did you see him looking at that medicine bottle?
Yeah.
I'll bet there's poison in there, and he's in cahoots with the doctor.
Well, I'm glad you got it figured out, because I haven't.
Where are you going?
I want to get something to eat. I missed my supper with all this paperwork.
Say, I haven't had anything to eat either.
You mean in the last 30 minutes? I want you to stay here and watch the office. I'm expecting callers.
Well, say, I just thought of something. Isn't it dangerous to leave old Bummer unprotected if somebody's trying to kill him?
Bummer is perfectly all right so long as that power of attorney paper's locked up.
That brings up another thought. They might try to get you.
I hope they let me get my supper first. I'll bring you back a sandwich.
You better make it 2, maybe 3. What's the matter? You so poor you can't buy your own medicine? Give me that bottle. I'm going to lock you up. Get in there.
Hold it, Red. Drop your gun on the floor. Give me that bottle. Now open that safe. I want that power of attorney paper.
I can't. I don't know the combination.
You're lying. Open the safe.
I said I can't. You better give me that gun.
1.
Wait just a minute, Mrs. Turner. I only agreed to steal that bottle of medicine for you. I don't want any part of a murder.
2.
Mrs. Turner, I always say that one man's medicine is another man's poison. All right, Red, lock her up.
Right this way, ma'am.
Mrs. Turner confessed she'd killed Smith and King, had tried to kill Red at the diggings, and had slowly been poisoning Bummer. Guess she figured she'd rather inherit his share than marry him. The remaining partners decided to work the diggings with Bummer. The old fellow had more ambition and a willingness to work than any of them.
Hi there, my little friends. If you were playing baseball and the baseball was knocked across a railroad track, I'm pretty sure when you got to that railroad track, you'd stop, look, and listen, wouldn't you? Now, please remember that any street in America is just as dangerous as that railroad. So when you get to the curbstone, stop, look, and listen. Will you do that for me? Now, so long until next week, And in the meantime, don't forget to go to Sunday school.
There he goes on his way down the moonlit trail to where cowboys stray. Hop along, Cassidy. Hop along, Cassidy. He'll return soon again. There's no use to say goodbye until then. Hop along, Cassidy. Here he comes. Here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums. Here he comes. Hop along, Cassidy. Here he
Red Connors and I were returning to our home range after delivering a herd of cattle to the railhead. Early evening found us still 50 miles from home, so we decided to put up for the night in the town of Millville.
Gee, I'm mighty proud of myself. We made this whole dang trip and I haven't gotten into any trouble.
I'll buy you a halo when we get home. But don't forget, we're not back to Twin Rivers yet.
It ain't always my fault when things happen. I don't go around looking for trouble.
You don't have to. Trouble just seems to find you. Get the horses put away, or I'll go in and arrange for a room. And don't forget the saddlebags.
Oh, boy. Hey, get away from that horse!
I said leave him alone. I'm just trying to stop him. Don't you go pushing me.
Oh, you're pushing for trouble, aren't you?
That's enough.
You're trying to buy some of the same, huh?
That's enough.
I didn't start it, honest, Hoppy.
I know it. Maybe we'd better forget the whole thing.
We Murdochs aren't the forgetting kind. Come on. There'll be another time.
I hope you're right.
You all right?
Sure.
Hoppy, I swear, every time I see you, you're just winning a fight of some kind.
Well, take a chance, Taggart. How are you, Jim?
Never felt better, Hoppy.
Jim, this is Red Connors.
Hello, Red.
Hey, with a name like Take a Chance, you must be a gambler.
In a way, he is quite a gambler. Jim builds railroads. I suppose that's what you're down here for, that proposed branch line to connect the Midland and Western Railroad.
That's it, Hoppy. Biggest gamble I ever took. Everything I have is tied up in the project.
Sounds like quite a deal.
It was a big and ambitious job Jim Taggart had taken on. He meant to build a steel trail west through the barren desert, through passes that wound through the high mountains, to some of the richest cattle country in the Southwest, where the railroad had never reached before.
And I don't mind telling you, Hoppy, it's been a tough surveying job. 6 months of it. But it looks like I can go ahead now. Buddy's due here tomorrow with a complete report of the survey for the route.
Buddy, isn't that your nephew?
Yeah, do you remember him?
Oh, sure, but that was a long time ago. He was just a little shaver.
Well, that little shaver's become one of the best civil engineers in the business. Here's a picture of him when he was pitching for his college team.
Look at that. What a guy.
Hey, somebody's hurt.
That's Bill Bricker, my representative down here. Hoppy, it's Buddy. Is he?
I'm afraid so, Jim. How did this happen?
Bricker gave us a brief but brutal account of what happened. Early this morning, he had ridden out to the camp some 5 miles from town, where Buddy was just completing the last mile of his 6-month survey, when 4 masked men rode up. When Bricker came to, the bandits had killed Buddy's assistants and ridden off with everything they could lay hands on, including the leather case that held the complete records of the survey. Realizing that the loss of his records would have ruined his uncle, Buddy seemed to crack up.
I tried to stop him, but I was too late.
You'd better have the doctor take a look at that.
It's only a scratch. I'll be all right. I'll go in and get some rest after I look after Buddy.
We'll take care of that.
Who are you? It's all right, Bricker. Mr. Cassidy is a U.S. Marshal. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell you anything I can, Mr. Cassidy.
It'll keep till morning. Then I want a full description of the men that attacked you. Fred, give him a hand with Buddy there, will you? Come on. In Jim Taggart's room at the hotel that night, I learned just what my friend was up against. He had mortgaged all of his possessions to put up a bond and buy equipment for the road he intended building. If he failed to turn over a completed survey to a representative of the Railroad Commission by noon of the day after tomorrow, his bond would be forfeited and his contract canceled.
With Buddy gone, I'm sunk, all washed up, and I'm too old to start all over again.
Jim, that doesn't sound like the Taggart I know. Besides, no man gets so old he can't start over again. I know this whole thing has been pretty much of a shock to you, but don't let it get you down. I'll try to pick up a trail the first thing in the morning. In the meantime, you get into bed and get some rest.
Thanks, Hoppy.
Good night, Jim.
Good night, Hoppy.
Next morning, after Brick had described the men who had held up the camp, Red and I rode to the campsite. I picked up an easy-to-follow trail. One of the men had been riding a horse that had lost the left front shoe. The trail led in a circle back to town, and there we lost it in the marks of the traffic in the street. And nowhere had we seen any trace of the map case or maps. Have you put a left front shoe on for anybody in the last 24 hours?
Who wants to know? The U.S. Marshal and his deputy.
Well, then I suppose I gotta tell you. Yeah, 3 guys came through here yesterday afternoon.
Bob Murdoch gave a description of the men and their mounts, which checked with those given me by Bricker. I sent telegrams to the sheriffs of the surrounding counties and was ready to take off again to try to pick up the trail. There you are, son. The sight of the youngsters playing catch set me to thinking.
Hadn't we better get a move on? The bandits got a mighty big head start on us.
Maybe not as big as you think. Come on, we're going back and see Jim Taggart. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
How you feel?
I feel better. Did you find anything?
Well, if my mind isn't playing me tricks, I did. May I see that picture of Buddy's again? What I was looking at was the picture of a young man in a baseball uniform, a pitcher's mitt on his right hand. Buddy was left-handed, wasn't he?
Sure. The best southpaw pitcher the school ever had.
Jim, that boy didn't commit suicide. He was murdered.
Murdered?
But Hoppy, Bricker said that the men...
Never mind what Bricker said. Buddy was shot in the right temple, wasn't he? And he was left-handed. Now figure it out yourself.
By golly, you're right, Hoppy. Be darn near impossible.
Certainly it is.
Then Bricker's story was a lie.
From start to finish. Now let's see if we can find his motive.
Would those survey maps be of value to anyone besides yourself?
It would be worth a lot to any of a half-dozen men I underbid.
And I suppose Bricker knows a great deal about your business.
Everything.
There's your answer. Bricker sold you out and arranged with Confederates to stage that holdup.
What are we waiting for?
Red, the important thing is to get those survey maps back in time. Jim, here's what I want you to do. Red and I hid out in the hallway while I waited for Jim to carry out my instructions. To get Bricker out of his room on the pretext of wanting to talk to him on business, and to keep Bricker with him until I got back. A thorough search had turned up no sign of the survey maps. Here was something interesting. A letter postmarked Denver, addressed to Bricker. And part of it read, I am interested in your proposition $25,000 worth, provided you can cause the cancellation, plus another $5,000 for the maps later. And it was signed Tom Walker.
I never figured it would go this way. Come in.
Jim, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give up. Lost the trail completely. I'm sorry. I did my best.
I'm sure you did. Thanks for trying. Well, I guess this just about washes me up for good, Bricker. Maybe I can scrape up enough to give you an extra month's pay.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Taggart. I can get another job. I'll probably head back to Denver on the stage it leaves tonight. Well, thanks for everything.
You played it perfectly, Jim.
And all the while I wanted to kill him with my bare hands.
I can't say that I blame you. Say, do you know a man in Denver by the name of Tom Walker?
I'll say I do. He's a contractor, a business rival of mine. The kind of man who'd rob his own mother.
That I can believe. That's the man Bricker sold out to.
How do you know?
I'll have to explain to you later. I want to keep on his trail. I think he'll lead me to those maps before that stage leaves tonight. You take it easy. For almost an hour, Red and I had been staked out, watching and waiting. Murdoch was telling Bricker how he had pulled the wool over my eyes by giving me the same description of the mythical bandits as Bricker had and sending me off on a wild goose chase. I'm going to trail Bricker. You watch that blacksmith and follow him wherever he goes. Bricker's destination was a small ranch house a few miles out of town. And I was sure when he left the house, he'd be carrying the maps.
Get him up. Aye. Keep him there. We're gonna find out what you're doing snooping around. Start moving toward the house. I was on my way home to meet you when I ran into this.
Well, it's a good thing you did. He's a U.S. Marshal, and I'm beginning to think he's a lot smarter than he acts.
The sooner I kill him, the better. There's no telling how much he knows.
Put that gun away, Murdoch. I followed you out here because I want to talk over some personal business with you.
Like what?
Well, like blocking Taggart's contract and collecting for those survey maps. I'm cutting myself in.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you should. We're both in Millville on the same job. Only you beat me to it.
Just what are you trying to say?
There are other contractors besides Tom Walker who'd like to build that branch line. And they're willing to pay more for those maps.
Just what do you know about Tom Walker?
Plenty. And whatever he's willing to pay, I know a man who will triple it. Just what did Walker offer you?
$5,000 for the maps.
5,000? Burley Hawkins in El Paso will pay 25,000 for those maps. We'll split it 3 ways. Is it a deal?
I'd say take it.
You don't look like the kind of a man who would turn crooked, Cassidy.
Did you ever work for a marshal's pay? No, I'm quite sure you didn't. But I have. I've got a chance to make as much money in 24 hours as I've made in the last 7 years, and I'm going to take it.
All right, I'm cutting you in.
Good. Now, I'd like to see those maps. I want to make sure I'm not being cut in on a pig in the poke.
Get the map, Sam.
All right, Marshal Cassidy just turned honest again. Put those maps back in the case, Bricker. Now, you're both under arrest.
Nobody's under arrest. Put those guns down, Marshal.
Like I said, we should have killed him right off.
Yeah, we got to get rid of him. But he's a U.S. Marshal, and if his body's ever found...
It won't be. I've always wanted to see a man dig his own grave. Outside. Get moving.
Now, this spot here looks all right. It's nice and soft. Now start digging.
Well, it's time I got back to Millville and catch the stage. When I get to Denver, I'll deliver this and collect. You can meet me in a few days and pick up your share.
How stupid can you Murdochs be? I may not live to see it, but I'm betting by the time you get to Denver, Bricker will be long gone with the money.
You keep out of this, Cassidy. Well, you know you can trust me.
I don't know. I just think I'll stick with you until you collect and we get our share.
That's right, Sam. You go with him. I'll stay here and finish this job.
I'd been digging for more than half an hour, hoping that I'd get a chance of blinding him with a spadeful of earth.
That's enough dirt. Throw the shovel out. Pleasant dreams, Cassidy.
Thanks, Red. I lost Murdoch's trail, Hoppy. If I hadn't seen your horse in the brush, I'd have been too late. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. You got here just in time. Kick a little dirt on him while I go in the house and get my gun.
Bricker and Sam were not in the stage, but they had booked passage to the junction. The driver had last seen them going into the saloon. I showed the driver my credentials and instructed him not to pull out until I gave the word.
Just wanted to have a little talk with you, Jim, before I left. Who besides you and Cassidy knew what I was up to?
Start talking.
No one, as far as I know.
Well, that makes it perfect for us, with Cassidy gone.
Gone? Where? You murdered him just as you did Buddy and his men. Why, you dirty...
Where's your gun, Jim? Find it.
I'm going in the saloon here for a minute. You stay out here and keep your eyes open.
No one will ever doubt your reason for committing suicide, Taggart. And this time we won't leave any clues around for some smart marshal to follow. We'll go back the same way we came in, through the saloon.
Yeah, I know, but hurry up and get it over with.
Breaker!
All right, Cassidy, drop that gun or Taggart goes out of here feet first. Now drop the other one. Get over there.
This is the second time today you've outsmarted yourself, Cassidy. And then when they find you and Taggart, we'll be far away. Come on!
Stay here, Red.
End of the line, Bricker. Second time today you've outsmarted yourself. Get down. Let's go.
After taking Bricker to the county seat, I returned in time to see Taggart turn over the maps and the survey to the railroad commissioner. Jim's contract was now officially in effect, and I knew that before too long, he would have finished a steel trail that would help link the great Southwest with the rest of our country.
Goodbye, Colonel.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Come on, Red. Goodbye. Hi, little partners. Anytime you play a game, play it to win. But remember, somebody always has to lose. And in case it's you, don't be unhappy about it. Be a good loser. Just try a little harder the next time. I'll see you next week.
On his way, down the moonlit trail to where cowboys race. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return soon again. There's no use to say goodbye until then. Hopalong Cassidy, so long. Here he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy.
Hop in that wagon, clear out of here.
Pike, you thieving rat. You and Herman got no right to throw me out of my place like this.
That's so. We're dispossessing you legal. Marshal Ty deputized us for this job.
Yes, everything he does is legal. Leastwise on the surface of it.
Now get going, you old deadbeat.
If Rick was here, he'd kill you for saying that.
I reckon he'd try if he wasn't too busy running from the law. Your son's worse than you.
Oh, if I only had my gun.
He's got an idea there. I wouldn't want nobody to ever say that Pike Jennings never give a man a chance. You do the counting, Pop. When you get to 3, reach for that gun. All set?
One. 2.
What are you waiting for?
Don't try to pick it up. I wouldn't reach for that if I were you. Here, Red. It's the most brutal setup for murder I've ever seen.
Why, you double-crosser.
Wait a minute. Well, put away your gun. Now, what's wrong here?
We're dispossessing him for not paying his bills or his mortgage.
It ain't so. It ain't so. They're crooks and Jason Rand's a crook, and I'm going...
Now, hold your horses. Let's find out what this is all about.
Get him to show you the paper I gave him.
Where is it?
Oh, it looks all right. Jason Rand thought of that. But I own this property outright.
Well, as much as I'd like to help you, mister, this dispossession paper is in order.
Well, you ain't been around here long. You'd understand what's behind this.
I can't say that I like it much, but
But you can't do anything about it, can you?
Not right at the minute. But there'll be no more attempts on this man's life. All right, Red, give them their guns. Now get out of here.
We'll be back. Hop, you better be gone, or the marshal himself will tend to you.
Under the circumstances, there wasn't anything Pop could do but leave. I heard his story. After being mustered out of the Union Army, he, Tom Rand, and several other Union soldiers accepted government land grants of 160 acres. Pop had worked this homestead till his property was clear. About 2 years ago, things started going bad.
Cattle stolen, water's poisoned, barns burned down. We was all having the same trouble, except the Rands. After his old buddies give up and moved out, Tom bought up their homesteads. I borrowed money at the bank, but couldn't pay it back. So Rand bought up their note. Tom died kind of sudden-like, and his son Jason kept on grabbing up land. Last week, he foreclosed on me. My son Rick lost his temper when the deputy marshal come out to evict us. Wounded him bad.
Where is Rick now?
Hiding out in the hills. Ain't much else he can do. But they'll never take him alive.
Have you got any way of proving that the Rands are back of all this trouble you're having?
Well, not exactly. But Rick said he could prove it.
What are you going to do now?
Yeah. I got a few dollars. I can get me a place in Union City.
Union City, huh? Just waiting for a chance to take a pot shot at Rand.
Maybe.
That'd be kind of crazy, wouldn't it, Mr. Ashton?
I'll tell you what we'll do, Pop. We'll go into town with you, and if you'll promise not to use that gun anymore, I'll see what I can do to help you. What do you say? All right, on your wagon.
When we got to Union City, I sent Red to get us a room while I headed for Marshal Ty's office.
I'll admit I've had my suspicions about the Rand outfit, Mr. Cassidy. But my hands are tied. There's no proof.
I understand Rick Ashton thinks he has some proof.
Just wishful thinking. That boy had better give himself up. My posse's made 3 trips into the hills and never got a glimpse of him.
What about these 2 men that served the dispossession papers?
Jason suggested I use them.
I see. Well, that kind of ties in with my report on Jason.
I'll admit I need your help, Mr. Cassidy, and I don't mind telling you. Rand has made me so uncomfortable, I'd sell this job for a quarter.
Marshal, if you don't mind, I'm going up in the hills to see if I can't find Rick.
Well, I wish you luck.
There you are, Ty. That's the man, Mr. Rand. Marshal, arrest that man.
What for, Jason?
For interfering with my men while they were serving legal papers and for wounding Herman.
You start anything and I'll have those 2 gunslingers of yours locked up for attempted murder.
What's he talking about, Pike?
Oh, we were just having a little fun with the old coot.
Fun? You have a very peculiar sense of humor, my friend. See you later, Marshal.
Get off of me and give me back my gun.
Hey! Hey!
Doggone it, Mr. Conrad. Get off of me and give me back my gun.
What's going on here?
I caught him just in time, Hoppy. He was about to break his New Year's resolution.
Jason again, huh?
When I saw that young no-good coming into town, Mr. Cassidy, I plumb forgot my promise and felt like I was at Bull Run.
Wait a minute. Give me that gun. If you don't stop losing your temper every time you turn around, I'm going to put blanks in this thing. Now put it away.
Well, I guess you're right. What'd the marshal say?
Well, he shares your suspicions, but he's got no proof. I'm going up in the hill and see if I can't find your boy.
Good. I'll go with you.
You stay right here and behave yourself, will you?
Come on, let's go.
I want to go alone. You stay here and look after Pop.
Oh, Hoppy, I get tired of playing nursemaid all the time.
Get my bags down, will you, boy? I'm in a hurry.
Hey, I've seen that female somewhere before.
Well, that's Trixie Brown from Emmett.
We heard her sing in the Silver Slipper. Wonder what she's doing here in Union City.
I don't know. Wherever you find Trixie, you find trouble. I followed the directions given me by the marshal, but after riding through the hills for several hours, I couldn't find a trace of Rick. When I was about to give up, I thought I saw faint tracks and followed them.
That'll be far enough.
I want to talk to you, Rick.
This Winchester's looking right down your throat, mister. Now you better turn around and head out of here.
I didn't come to harm you. I want to help you. My name's Cassidy. I just left your father. He's been dispossessed.
Jason, huh? Well, I'll take care of him.
Everything will be all right if you just listen to me.
I'm listening. It'd be healthier for you to get out of here.
You said you could prove some things about Jason Rand. Why don't you give yourself up and offer some of that proof?
Is that all you got to say?
No, it isn't. Your father's in town with a friend of mine. We're looking after him, but he needs your help.
If I show my face in town, the marshal will lock me up. That'd suit Jason fine. He's rich now, got power. Nobody can touch him. But he ain't gonna live to steal our spread. I'll see to that.
I'll make a bargain with you, Rick. Wait for 3 days before you do anything. Well, what do you say?
Why should I?
Well, I can't promise too much, but I might be able to do something in that time.
I'll think about it. Now you'd better get out of here.
All right, but I'll be back in 3 days.
Tell my father I'm all right.
I will. But how am I going to find you again?
Just ride up here. I'll see you.
Here's some water for you.
Thanks. But when you come back, don't bother to bring anybody with you.
I won't. See you later, Rick. No, I couldn't get the kid to come down out of those hills. He's just about as stubborn as his old man. What else did he say? I'll have to tell you the rest of it later. Come on.
Well, Mr. Cassidy, how are you?
How do you do, Miss Brown?
You're the last person I'd ever expect to meet here. And Mr. Connors,
Speaking of surprises, what brings you to Union City?
visiting an old friend.
Hey. I'll bet they miss you at the Silver Slipper.
Too bad if they do. I'm not going back.
Oh, you found something better?
Decidedly. I'm coming into some money, Mr. Cassidy. Sort of an inheritance.
I see.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye.
Shall we go?
Gosh, she's pretty.
And dangerous. I'd still like to know what she's doing here.
Trixie in trouble.
Come on, I'd like to satisfy my curiosity. She hired that rig to drive out to Jason Ranch. Now, this may only be a hunch, but I wish you'd ride over to Emmett and find out what the connection is between her and Jason.
Sure, Hoppy. I'm good at snooping.
You know, Jason, dear, it makes a person feel good to know they're so welcome.
Of course you are, honey. Don't ever go back to Emmett's.
Maybe I won't. I want a little favor, Jason.
Just name it.
$50,000.
A little favor.
It's the amount I need, dear.
What if I should say I couldn't get that much cash together?
I wouldn't believe it. Perhaps I should tell you how urgent this is. I mean, urgent for you.
For me.
Remember, I've seen you every time you came to Emmett. You drank quite a bit. You talked quite a bit. And I know quite a bit about that last card game.
Can't get by with any less, eh?
No, dear.
Even though I'm so very fond of you, blackmail is too big a favor to ask, dear.
Pulling that trigger would be the most stupid thing you've ever done, Jason. I've written down everything I know about you, just in case anything happens to me. Now be a good boy. Put that gun away and fix me another drink.
I admire clever women, Trixie. It'd be better to have you on my side.
Rick, I brought you some food and water.
Thanks. I won't be needing it now.
Oh? Why not?
Time's up. I'm going after Jason.
I want you to wait till tomorrow. You hear me?
You lied. You did bring somebody with you.
They're not with me. Hold your cover.
Come on, let's get out of here.
I was too far away from the riders to positively identify them, but I thought they were Jason's two killers.
Rick! Rick!
I couldn't get another answer from Rick, and I didn't dare try following him.
All right, so I don't know how to fix flowers, but I got to give the boss something.
I never knew you could be so romantic, Jason.
Well, hello there, Herman. Pike.
Congratulations, ma'am. We're sure glad you decided to stay a spell.
Oh, thank you, Pike.
Well, this calls for a celebration. Fix us a drink, will you, honey? Oh, go on. You're the lady of the house now.
Oh, these flowers are lovely, Pike.
What happened? It's all right to talk.
Well, you had it figured right. We followed Cassidy. He talked to Rick from a distance.
And?
Well, we couldn't get a good shot at either of them.
Drinks are on the house, Jen.
To you and the missus, boss.
To my luck. May it never end, especially with such a wonderful wife.
Luck. I'm the lucky one, Jason, dear. I never thought I'd have $50,000 all at one time.
Nice wedding present.
You're sweet.
You know, Pike, I hope you get married someday. It has a lot of advantages for a man.
Yeah, advantages.
Yep. Jason's been in Emmett often, did a lot of drinking and gambling. They seem pretty friendly with Trixie, too.
Good work, Red.
And that ain't all I found out. She hinted that she had something on some wealthy person and was going to collect.
Say, she must have known plenty about Jason to get him to marry her.
That's right, Cassidy.
I think I'll go out to the Rand place and offer my congratulations to the bride and groom. I'll see you later, gentlemen.
I was playing a long shot, but I was sure of one thing. In dealing with people like Jason and Trixie, you stand a pretty good chance of using their suspicions to your own advantage.
Cassidy, come in.
Thank you, Mrs. Rand.
I'm glad you stopped by.
Well, congratulations are in order.
Thanks. Refreshments?
No, thanks, not right now. Where is the groom?
Well, he rode off with Pike. Doesn't speak well for a new bride, does it?
Oh, I don't know. Jason has large holdings. He has to work very hard to protect them.
Well, I'll see to that. I wouldn't want him to lose any of this. Please sit down.
I shouldn't think you would. You've done very well. This is quite an inheritance.
Guess I am lucky. Wonder what the girls back at the old place would say if they knew I got a $50,000 wedding present. What's the matter?
Oh, I was just thinking.
Thinking what?
Thinking maybe you should have cashed that right away.
What do you mean?
Mrs. Rand, sometimes a man will do most anything until he gets the woman he loves, and then... Oh, but what am I talking about? Jason isn't that kind of a man.
Of course not. Besides, it's too late. The bank is closed.
It does sort of remind me, though, of a trick that Gus Adams played on his Millie.
Trick?
Yes, it seems that Millie found out about some shady dealings he'd been in on and tried to blackmail him.
What happened?
Oh, he gave her a large check. Then he married her so she couldn't testify against him. And then to add insult to injury, he stopped payment on the check.
Stop payment on the check? I forgot. A wife can't testify against her husband, can she?
Oh, no. What is it, Mrs. Rand?
That dirty, double-dealing murderer. To think that I was stupid enough to believe that Jason was ever on the level with anybody.
What are you talking about?
I won't let Jason get away with this. Nobody plays Trixie for a fool. I'll tell all I know about him.
A minute ago, you said something about a murderer. What did you mean by that?
There was a crooked card game in my place over in Emmett. Jason cheated a man by the name of Caldwell. Got his 160 acres away from him. Caldwell's deed and Ashton's place were the last two strips that Jason needed to own everything in this county. He's a crook.
Did Jason kill this Caldwell?
Yes. It was hushed up.
Could you give me the names of the people that were mixed up in this?
I can do better than that. It's all written down on a piece of paper in a strong box, locked in my trunk. I'll show that Jason.
Nice speech, Mrs. Rand.
Don't reach for a gun, Cassidy.
Come on over here, Trixie.
Please, Jason. Don't kill me.
Come on outside.
Hey, Rick! Come back!
All right, Marshal, they're all yours.
I sure appreciate you getting my homestead back from you, Hoppy.
You'll be all right now, Pop. Trixie's silent testimony will convict Rand and break up his crooked empire.
Thanks for getting the marshal to drop that charge against me.
You thank the marshal yourself. It was his idea.
Don't you forget, Pop. Keep that New Year's resolution. For at least an hour.
So long. Hi there, little partners. I understand there's been quite a little talk around your house lately about going to bed. Now, I know that we all hate to go to bed. We're always so afraid we're going to miss something. But you must get a lot of sleep. And the time to go to bed is when your mommy or your daddy tell you to. Not 15 minutes later or 20 minutes later, or not one or two television shows later, but right now. I'll see you next week. Until then, get lots of good sleep, will you? Good night.
There he goes on his way down the moonlit trail to where cowboys race. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return say goodbye.